Hello guys! How are you doing? Welcome to, it's not our first NodeRED session, but welcome to NodeRED live sessions. This is all about really NodeRED, and it's not for very beginners, but I'll be happy to answer all the questions. I would expect you to kind of know what is NodeRED and more or less what the nodes are and a basic of connecting two nodes together. So we're not going to go over very basic things. We're just going to jump into NodeRED and program something cool. I'll be happy to answer all the questions if you have. I have a chat open, so if you have any questions, just type them in and I'll be answering them as I go. Now, there's a couple of things that I've prepared for you that we're going to do, because I've kind of planned it out, and hopefully we're gonna finish everything. I've not finished this project, I've not practiced it, so I'm going to be resolving problems as I go as well. There might be some possible mistakes. Feel free to correct it if you already have the answer. It's going to be a cooperative learning experience. Can a NodeRED upload to Google Drive, yes, you can. You can because, like for example, Google Drives use API, so it uses the HTTP request. You can take advantage of that. I think there is I think someone did something to, for example, to manage the sheets and stuff like that. So definitely you can integrate this. How long do you think the lives be? I'm aiming for about 2 hours. So if you don't have time now, you can jump in a little bit later on. And obviously, the entire stream is going to be available to you later on as soon as the YouTube is going to process it. So I'm just going to walk you through what I've preset up so you would know where we're having it. I have a lamp in here. Just a simple lamp, and it's linked to this Sonoff. We're going to be working with this as a part of it. So this is a Sonoff device. If you don't know what Sonoff is, it's an online switch. It switches things on and off like this. I can do it from a button, or I can do it through internet. Obviously, we're going to be interacting through the internet. Now, this is not a normal Sonoff. This is the POWR2, which means it has the ability to measure the current, so you can tell me whether the device is using power, and that's something we're going to be looking into it in the project as well. So it's hooked up just here, so I could control this. You will see this lamp going on and off in the background, and the idea for today is that I'm going to create a behavior, because I have a couple of light sources automated right now. So I have blinds, I have curtains, and I have a chain controller for vertical blinds. So all those things, those are your light sources, and I want to control them as well. For example, in this tutorial, we're going to focus on a behavior, how to turn off blinds or close your blinds, windows, or whatever, curtains, when, for example, a TV is connected, TV is on, so you wouldn't have this reflection coming from the window, because it's very often the case. Or if you have a projector, you can also discover when the projector is online, close the windows, so you could have proper cinematic experience. Now, I'm going to share one of the articles which I've solved it in a way that isn't to my satisfaction, and that's why I want to resolve it again. But I'm going to model this on this behavior, so let me just give you a link. Just going to type it out. And it's going to be kind of replicating this and creating two different behaviors for it. So in my bedroom, I have a projector, and I'm using the projector to obviously watch content, etc. This projector, as soon as it's connected online, I discover this, and it overrides the lights, so it turns the lights off, and it keeps the lights off. There is a special override if you want to turn on the light while you're watching it, but it closes the curtains, it turns off the light, but the principle is very the same. So we're going to go over this, and we're going to start from a scratch. Automatic rollers, nice video, thank you. Okay, so MQTT, it's what I'm using in these circumstances, but there's going to be a couple of things that we're going to approach, because if you have a smart TV, it's a relatively simple thing to discover. As soon as the TV is connected, it's going to register itself on a network, which means you can ping it. If you can ping it, you can discover when the TV is connected to the network and it's powered on, and this is your trigger. So if you can ping it, then you should close the curtains, and that's the watching session. But what if you don't have a connected appliance? What if you have a not connected projector or not connected to Wi-Fi TV or another thing that you want to automate? Obviously you have to have a different trigger. Now one of the things that you can do, you can introduce a device like this, which is in this circumstance some of that measures power, and you can use it in two different ways. So you can check whether the device is taking any power and use that as a trigger, or you can use a flipping point of that as a trigger. So for example, if you turned on the device using a controller, then that could be a trigger, or you can measure the power, see how much power the device uses, and use that to automate your blinds. So this is a let's jump in. This is the NodeRED setup. I've not done anything. There's just a couple of MQTT nodes I set up so I could receive some information from the device. And what we're going to be using today, we're going to be using MQTT to receive some of the triggers, and we're going to be using ping node to check if the device is online. So the handy shortcut on the keyboard, if you press down Control and left mouse, it'll give you a search, and then you can, for example, look for ping node. This is not a standard node, so you have to go to Palette Manager and install it from the Palette Manager. So now, because I'm not going to ping any device in particular, I'm creating a virtual device. I want to have an ability to receive a false and a true signal. Now, a ping will give you two outcomes, so I'll show you here. Let's disable this one so we don't disturb this. And if I'm going to ping a device that is true, for example, Google website, we'll receive a ping which is a number. So let's deploy this, and you'll see that in a couple of seconds, just clear this, in a couple of seconds I'm going to receive a value which is correct, and that's going to be our ping in milliseconds. I should have probably set that to something shorter, but I didn't want to span it. So you can set that in here, how often it happens. It's every 20 seconds. And there we go, we have our ping is 24 milliseconds. So this is when the device is connected. When the device isn't connected, so let's make a false address. We'll see what happens. Let's redeploy this, and we're going to receive a second information in a payload, which is going to be in this case false. I already know that because I've played with ping previously. So let's wait another couple of seconds, and we should have it same payload in here, which is false. Oh, and there you have it. So that's our behavior for this one. Now, so that's going to be our trigger. If you let's do this. So let's get a comment, and this is our trigger. Right. So when the device comes online, this can be applied to a smart projector. This can be applied to smart TV or something that is connected to Wi-Fi. We can just check every number of seconds, let's say 20 seconds or something. It means once the device will connect, within that 20 seconds time, it will issue a trigger to our our home automation system, and we'll be able to act upon it. So in this case, hello Brendan, you all right? In this case, obviously, we want this to happen. Now, because it's programming, it's always a verbatim approach, which means every 20 seconds it will be checking if the device is there, and it will be doing something. So if I'm just going to use that as a trigger to turn off the light, I'll show you what happens. So let's get a controlling node. So MQTT, I'm going to send a signal to my son-off, so I need MQTT out. The topic for this, I have it here. So to control the power, I think it's this one. Come here, come here, come here. So if we're gonna copy this, we'll be able to control it, and it takes true or false. It takes all the. So let's create a true or false for light to be on and off. So we need to change it to a boolean. One for true, copy this, and one for false. That way we can control the light, and hopefully it will work without any problems. So let's make some space. And now we have ability to control our light for testing purposes. I could just flip the switch in there, but we're gonna do it this way. Okay, so let's do it. So now the light is on. I've clicked on a true, that's done. If I'm gonna click on a false, That's great. Now obviously if I wanted to get the lights off, so let's turn the lights off on first. If I wanted just to deploy this and use, for example, a switch node, so for example let's get a switch node. Switch nodes the text condition, in this case it's going to be message payload, and if that message payload is false, then we're not going to do anything, and if message payload is otherwise, then we're going to do something. So in otherwise, what we're going to do, this is as our second, if you hover up you get a hint in here, we want to copy this and we want to issue message payload which turns this off, which is false. So let's create, we can make a change node, for example, or we can have a function node. I'll show you how to do it in both ways. So if you're just going to do this like that, connect this here, change the message payload to false, let's do it a boolean, and that's to false, and let's change that so it would be more visible to 5 seconds. So now I've created the thing that it's going to turn off the light within 5 seconds when this comes online. Now the problem with this behavior is that it worked, you're happy with it, but what if you want to pause the film and go for a snack? Then if I'm gonna turn on the light within 5 seconds, this will happen again because it continuously checks for that ping, and it will be like this and as long as the device is online. So if the device goes offline, obviously it will finally let me turn the lights on. And this is not a desired behavior because for the most part you probably want to what is shortcut? It's a hold down control plus left. And that way you can search for the nodes. So this is not a desired behavior because obviously if you want to pause it, you won't have a control over the light. Now I've solved that in my switch in the link that I've pasted on the chat in such a way that if I hold a button, because I've used IKEA ones, so it's like IKEA, yeah, there it is. It's in my other room, I'm not going to bring it over, this is not connected. So I had 2 buttons, one is for the lamp, for the bedside lamp, where the second one like this. The second one, the bottom, is for the top light. When the projector comes on, you close the curtains and switches off the light. Now if I hold the top button, which is for the lamp controller, it allows you to override it, it kills the entire flow, and I can keep the light on. But that's not also excuse me, that's not the way we want to really do it. We want to get that behavior checked once, disable the lights, save the current status of the light as well, because that's going to be useful for controlling something else. And then when we finished watching something, we want to restore a previous state of the light. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to start storing our context. Contexts are like a memory slot, so like variables in the system. You can save them and they're going to be there existing until you reboot the Raspberry Pi. Now you can preserve that context. I'll give you a link how to do it, and make your variable values survive a reboot or crash or whatever. It will save that context every couple of seconds. So I'll give you a link for that as well. If you I don't believe this is enabled by default, so you have to still kind of just go and enable this in a configuration, and this is how you make your settings stick. So we need to basically figure out when our device is powered and it's not powered, and save this. So we're gonna do it with a function node. We could still do it with a switch node, but it's easier to do it with a function node, and sooner or later you have to start playing with functions. And hello Photochromax, how are you doing? You'll still have to do it with a functions node to get some basics, but don't be scared of that, it's not very complicated. So whenever we're changing a state, there's a couple of things gonna happen. This will get populated, I believe, so let's test it out. If not, we're gonna get it from this topic. So let's toggle it up. First, I'm gonna disconnect this one so it wouldn't bother us for now. Great. Then I probably need MQTT in, because that little sensor will only give us energy. So yeah, I need to monitor this topic. So let's get MQTT node in. Now in this MQTT node, let me just shift everything a little bit down so we would know what we're doing, and I'm gonna label it everything for you. So in this MQTT node in, we're gonna see what is our device doing. I think we can get that from this topic as well when this is switched over. So let's get a debug. And now, when we're toggling something, let's disable this one. Hello, Gartek. Now when we, let's turn it off, we receive notification to this. You can see this one's highlighting here. This is a false. When we turn it on, this is a true, and we can use that to actually update it. So let's set that to be a JSON so we could manage it a little bit better, deploy it. Okay, and now we're gonna save this as a context. So I'm just going to put the function node, and let's program the function node. Now I have Visual Studio Code in here because the font is bigger, so you're gonna see it better. So let's open new file. Basically, I'm just gonna copy it, so I can just get my first line here. That's where it is, and set the language to JavaScript because JavaScript is being used here. Okay, so we have a basics now. What happened first is we receive a payload, right? Message. Payload is a part of your message, which is an object. So you can access the value of the payload, but before you can access the value of the payload, you have to store it somewhere. So we need to create a variable. To create it, you have to first define the variable. So we can do var, and then let's name it, I don't know, light state. You can name it whatever you want. And now the state is going to be stored in my message payload. So this is where I can find whether it's a true or false. You can also see if you have it as a JSON. I'll show you a handy trick. If you're not sure how you should structure your function here, or how you should structure your data, if you have it in a JSON node, what you can do, let's set it to false. You can see now it's in a JSON. Now what you can do is two options. There's an option to copy value, and I'll copy this false, and there's an option to copy the path. And if I'm gonna copy the path, it's anything that follows after message. So I'll have a message dot, and I've copied whatever I needed to. So you can see it was stored in a payload. So this is a handy shortcut if you have like a big JSONs. What we're working on, if you just joined, we're going to create a system in which that's gonna use a trigger from for example, a situation like you're watching TV, you have smart blinds, it's nice and sunny outside, and you have a massive glare on your TV and it disturbs you. So as soon as your TV is on, it's gonna use that as a trigger and will deactivate the light without re-triggering it constantly. So that's the general idea. If you don't have a smart TV, you can still use it with a device like in here. I have hooked up a Sonoff. This is a Sonoff that can also measure power. So you can use the power measurements, you can use the trigger measurements, or you can use the ping to detect those devices. I should have get a drink, to be honest, and that was a bad move on my part. Okay, so now that we have this, what we're going to do is go and work with it in here. So our variable is going to be populated with true or false, and we want to save it as a context. So I'm going to save this as flow. So it's going to be only available within the flow. It's not going to be across all flows. If you want to have it across all flows, you have to use global, and if you want it within that function itself and not anyone else, you have to use the context. So we're gonna use set because we're setting it. Then we need to produce a name, and name is in what is it called? These ones. So we're gonna just name it light state to make it easy. If you have multiple lights at this point, you would have to start thinking, what is your naming convention? You can have a light state 1 or light bedroom or whatever. When you start with a project like that, you have to think ahead. So in this case, I only have one light. It doesn't matter for me. But if you have multiple lights and they are going to be in a single flow, you have to think ahead. Now that we going to store this in a light state in here, then we have to pass the value. What we're storing there, we obviously storing, and you can do message payload. You can just type in message payload in here, it's fine. But it's easier just to take a light state and just use a light state, because that's where our value is. Okay, and right now we're gonna have it stored. So let's copy this to the correct window. Update state. Can't type. Okay, now what's gonna happen? Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen because first, the state didn't change. Second of all, we have to change the tab, and you'll see context. You can access it from here. You'll see the context. There's a node, flow, and global. We're working with the flow. So if I refresh, nothing happens. Now, if I'm gonna change the state to on and refresh this, now we have a light state, and the light state is true. Our light is on. So we now can track whether our light is on or off, and that's very useful for us because we don't have to ask the light anymore. What we can do, the light will make sure each time it changes, will update the relevant setting. We can simply just check that variable within the system. It's much quicker than sending a separate request, and obviously we're gonna have access to that value. So we have first thing that we have is this. Second, we need, so this is the state that the light is currently have. Okay, and let's comment it out so we could know that what is doing it. And you can name it as well, get state like that. And maybe if you have multiple bulbs, then you can do like this, and you know which bulb it is. Anything that okay, and this is a get current state. We're gonna leave our control level on the top, as we're going to use this to test it. So a little bit of maintenance. There we go. And now we can, if we change the value, it won't change itself until you update it. There you go, everything's working. Okay. Why use function node when change does the job? Because it's good to start using this. I want to encourage you with simple examples like this one, because if you understand what happens in here, then if I suddenly have something that requires 10 different state changes and have more complicated things, you'll find it much easier to contain it within a couple of lines of code than trying to do it with the nodes, because you would have to use multiple nodes. There are situations when it's better to use a simple node, and there are situations when it's better to use a function node. And since I want you to have a comfort and confidence of doing both, then for a simple state like that, I'm doing this. But what you can do, you can get a change node like this, which I used before. So this is our change node. And then you can just simply go to flow, and we name the flow light state, isn't it? Right. And then we can update it to a message and then payload. There you go, and that would work as well. That would do exactly the same thing, and I'm going to keep it here for you so you could, like, if you want, we can test it. So let's delete this. Right, let's deploy it, and let's trigger it. So right now we have a false. If I'm gonna turn it on, there you go, works as well. So okay. It was the IKEA chip dimmer. That was the IKEA. This one, that's IKEA chip dimmer. This is a Xebu. It works with Zigbee to MQTT very well. I would recommend it. It's £6 in UK, and you have 4 different actions you can use. You can use single click on both buttons, and then you have long click and long click. Basically, that events for press down and release and press down and release, so you can have even timed events like 5, 3 seconds or 7 seconds, something like that. Okay. I'm not sure, but I can think you could save a whole JSON object. I could save entire object if I wanted, but there is always think about the data, what you find it useful, what's going to be needed, and it's a good practice to save stuff you need rather than everything, because if you're going to go back to this and try to figure out what you were storing this and why you were storing it, you're gonna get more confused at like 4 months later, you're going back to the same project. This way I know exactly what I'm dealing with, why I'm storing it, and why I'm using it, because I only have one value and a name assigned to it. If I'm gonna have entire complicated JSON next to it, I'll think twice. So that's why I would encourage you to keep things simple. Unless you have, like I said, unless you have a plan of, I don't know, maybe you want to store entire, where is it? I didn't change the camera, did I? Okay, so let me just double show you this. So I did that before with a change node. So I took a change node and I've set it to flow. So I've picked it. I wanted to set a flow to a message payload, right, like that. And now when I trigger it, it works like a charm. So I only saved, yeah, it worked there. So I've only saved, it's up to you which one you're going to use. And use what you want, unless you have a big plan of reusing that information later on with something. You can still update that, and it doesn't really matter, but for the sake of simplicity and going back later to the same project, just save really the information you need. The rest of the information you can discard. There's no point of hamstering it. Okay, so we are moving. I'm going to leave both options here, so you can. I'm gonna provide this download later, so you can download entire tutorial file and enjoy it at your own leisure pace. So I'm just going to keep both options here for you. So okay, I'm going to move this also kind of on the side. I'm not going to use it. Kind of make some space. So now that we have this, let's play. We're gonna start with a device that is connected to network. So we're gonna have, let's copy this and duplicate it. So this one, device online, and we're gonna be pinging Google. And this one's gonna act as device offline. So that way I can, I don't have to run to my project and turn it on and on. And based on that, they're all going to be submitting here, but I'm going to be picking one depending on what behavior I want. So right now I'm just going to not connect anything. Now if you just joined, I'll show you that in here in the switch node, the ping will produce either a false result or will be otherwise, which is a number of milliseconds. And that's what's important for the ping. Okay, so how we're gonna do it is, in the current situation, we have the light that's gonna blink each time, because every couple of seconds the device will check what's going on, pass that information, that's gonna be translated to relevant payload, in this case false, and it will make sure that the light stays turned off. So we need to fix this. And the way we're gonna fix it is by obviously creating a function node. So that's why the introduction. Let me just open the screen, and we're gonna start with a function node. Okay. Now in a function node, before you're gonna start doing anything, it's worth actually just going through a process, what you want to create and how you want to do it. So let me open a new document. And we're going to start outlining what we want to do first, and then we're going to start programming it. So I can delete this, I'm not going to need it. I'm just going to make a copy like message return, so that would be our default function node. If the switch could exit after the first rule match, that's what we're going to do. There is more than one way to solve this problem. I'm not going to say that my way is the only way to solve this problem, because it's not. You can pick more than one way of solving it, but I'm going to show you the way I've did it. So you can either work on it and improve it, or you can, apply it as it is, or you can just trash it and say like, I know better. There's always more than one way to resolve this. So first, what I want to do, I want to, because I'm gonna have this information streamed to me when the device is online constantly, right? Every X number of seconds, it's gonna be checking if the device is offline or online. So I want to have the ability to tell whether I've did that action. So whether it works kind of like being armed, right? If you arm something, then it's ready to trigger and it will trigger, and then you can disarm it and it will want to trigger again. And if the trigger wasn't armed, then it will ignore all the context. So we can approach it in this way. Just optimizing a bit for low resources hardware, maybe on the Pi. Right, only because you're gonna stop the flow, because once you configure this, the problem with this one is once you configure the timing, it's gonna be running regardless. So it doesn't matter whether you're gonna pass the flow to the next stage or not, even if you're gonna kill sorry, wrong screen. So for example, with a ping node, if you're going, this will trigger every X seconds, and this is how you're gonna check it, unless you're gonna use that as a trigger. Since I cannot have a trigger from the device like a projector, because I cannot program the software to say, hey, hello, trigger NodeRED, then I have to continuously monitor it, and that's the problem. So if I'm going to continuously monitor whether it's online or not, that's going to be looping every 5 seconds and pinging the device regardless. If I have it connected, if I don't have it connected, if I create a switch node in here that will stop this connection in here, it will keep checking it. So you're not really saving any resources. The second thing is, honestly, even if you run it on the Raspberry Pi Zero, which I did for 2 years, I had my NodeRED automation on Node. The only disadvantage was the interface running a bit sluggish. The automations was working okay, so unless you have loads of different automations, I wouldn't bother. If you have a Raspberry Pi 3, you can automate for ages before you actually run into problems. Okay, so let's go back to our screen and let's outline what we want to do. So first, if you want to leave a comment, it's // and then you can leave the notes on that comment. And I tend to use it just to comment out the code, and so I would know what I'm doing. So first, I need to get information from info from my light bulb, because I promised myself that I'm gonna check the state and I'm gonna reapply the state from before. So if I started watching programs with lights on or blinds open, I want to restore this when I finish, okay? And this is the behavior you can modify. You can add extra rules for it, so it will only restore the settings if it's before 7 p.m. If it's after 7 p.m. once the TV is deactivated, it will not restore these settings. It will just apply the lights to be off or keep the blinds open. So you can introduce many levels of this. It's okay, so I need my information from the bulb. Now I know it's gonna be 2 different conditions. So whether the device is online, the device is armed and device is not armed. Okay, so that's the 2 distinctions there. So when the device is armed, what's going to happen? I just want to turn off the light. Okay, and update and keep updating state. And when the device is not armed, I just want to arm the device. Oh, I want to, and then I just want to arm the device. Okay. So the switch node in here, it works like an if condition. It checks against your code and it evaluates the code. So it checks the content of the payload and it checks whether the payload is false or something else. And you can do that in a function node as well. So for example, if I wanted to check if my message payload is true or false, I would do something like that. First, I would store the information from the payload. So let's have information, I don't know, state. and it would be, let's say we're gonna take a message payload. That's just an example, so don't worry about it now. And then I can check what I've got in here. So I'm gonna start with if, what I want to evaluate against. So I'm checking state. I have to put it in a bracket. Now I use 3 equal marks because it checks precisely for exactly the same kind of variable. So in here I'm using true or else. So if that was, for example, false, and else. So this piece of code is exactly what I did in here. So in here I have a piece of information that is checking the value of the message payload, right? It checks whether it's false or otherwise, and it exactly does the same thing in my code. So oops, I've pressed the button. So it checks the value of the state. If it's false, it does one thing. If it's something else, it does another thing. And this is why you can do it. And for example, if you then want to nest it, which means you're gonna have a, oops, wrong copy. Nesting means that one is into another. So you would have, for example, a value, numeric value if it's here, and you can pick in the second switch node whether the numeric value is smaller than 50 or greater than I don't know, 70. Then you could do it this way, or you could nest another one. Sorry, didn't switch the camera. So you could nest it by adding additional switch node like here, and then you can evaluate the message from a previous condition against a new set of it, and then you would narrow it down to whatever parameters you want. And you would do it by basically just introducing a new if condition down the tree. So you would have a nested if inside with your condition, and you would have a new function here. And if you wanted to have an else, then you could put else if you really wanted to, but that would, okay. So that's how you operate with ifs. So we know that we need our information from the light bulb. So let's do this. We're gonna start it in the variation light state again. State, and that's gonna be flow because we start getting it from flow. Get, because we want to receive this information, and just provide the information name. And in this case, if you remember, the information was light state. So we have a light state in here, and we're just receiving it, so we don't need any additional parameters. So now when this runs, we're gonna know what our light bulb is doing. Okay. Now I don't need this. So on the first time that we have a device online, right, we want to check if the device was armed. So we need to see and store the information about this. So what we have to do, we need to receive that information. So let's do it like this. So we're gonna set a new variable. Let's say I'll call it alarm. And this variable, it's gonna receive information from flow as well. We don't have this value yet, but we're gonna work around it in a moment. So flow get, I'm just gonna name it alarm state, and we're gonna receive this information. Now at this point, if we're gonna try to run it, it will generate an error because there is no alarm state. You can't see this in here, and we didn't save this information yet, so we will have to get this information checked whether we are permitted to go ahead. So let's go back. And we're gonna create, first we're gonna create the conditions we're gonna work with. So if our alarm, and now our alarm is gonna be a true or false. So let's do it true or false. It's true, this is going to be our first condition. If alarm has been set, sorry, false, we're going to do first. Again, sorry, we're doing it's armed, so it's true. Okay, so you're going to do a true. And if alarm isn't then we're gonna armed, and we're gonna check and see if alarm equals false. Can I spell it? Thank you. Okay, so we have two conditions now, and we're gonna be evaluating against them. Now, because we don't have that information yet, we need to check if that information is even available. So in here, there's a second thing that can happen. If alarm isn't false, right, it's probably it's not been defined before. So we can check for a second condition, which is alarm equals undefined. Now, undefined is where you have a variable that was not defined before. And in here, we are very likely to have this information undefined. Okay, you could keep it this way. And if the alarm wasn't not armed, we need to set the alarm. So we would then have a variable already defined here, so we can just use it. We can set alarm to be, sorry for being confused. I tried to think out loud. So we want to basically update the alarm context to a positive value. That's flow dot set, and then we want to we use the name alarm state, so we're gonna replicate the name again. All right, and then we want alarm to be set, so it's true. Okay, so on the next evaluation, we know the alarm has been set. Okay, and in here, we're gonna be turning off alarm. So we can take this information, paste it here, and change it to false. Now, you wouldn't run it at this moment, because what would have it is a massive loop that you would have. You would loop between this condition would set it to false, then this condition would set it to true, and then it will go again, and you would loop each time until you crash everything. So we need to have a way for us to exit it. Now, if you run a message, you can just exit the message with return message and stop evaluating whatever is below. And that's what we're gonna use in this circumstances, because we only need to deliver a single payload. So I'm going to remove that from the end of the script, and I'm going to enter it for each condition. So that way, when we have a flow, the information hits either this side of the if condition or this side of the if condition, and it will exit here and return. Oh, can I change it like this? Oh, sorry. I've got shortcuts which are putting extra letters. So basically it will enter the information in here, enter the payload, and then reevaluate on the return message. Okay, I'm just gonna check on the comments. The second if can be if not alarm. Yes, you can, like I said, you can do it in a couple of ways. As long as you remember that if you, let me just switch there, as long as you remember which variables get defined and not defined. So now I could actually run this and I would not create a loop because it would exit. So we can actually just try it if you want, guys. So alarm is here, that's okay. So let's try to run it for you. So I'm just going to, do I need this? No, I don't need this for now. We're just going to connect this to here. And then we have a device online. Doesn't matter because it's going to be giving us a payload each time. So, okay. So as you can see, this is not defined in here. Let's deploy this. And in a couple of seconds, we should receive first failed to parse JSON string. Which one? Why are you passing? Here. Just do this. It doesn't matter. I think there's a not completed. No, hold on. Why do we have a problem in here? What did I do wrong? Why is failed first JSON? Why shouldn't be a problem? It's all connected. Let's redeploy it. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know why it created a problem. So if we're gonna go back to context now, we should we need to pay debug as well, just to make sure. Are we receiving anything at all? And in a couple of seconds, which is 5 seconds, we should have actually. It's not populating yet. Okay, so I've did a mistake somewhere. Let's jump back. They copy, because I didn't copy anything. Okay, I'm not used to switching between this, so let me just copy wherever I did so far. So, okay, I've got it here. Now something will happen. Something should happen now. Okay, so. Okay, I've missed it. Hold on a second. Switch could exit in the first rule match. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Like, did I miss it? Let me just. I'm scrolling through the comments. 1 second, guys. And the problem with function is you can't really send it aside. When you won't step down and worry about the pertinence of it from the or statement. Yeah, I need the or statement. Yep, sorry, you are not. I was thinking about it and I did something else. There you go. Thanks. Like I said, I'm not very good at doing 2 things at the same time. I'm trying to explain things, think ahead, and yeah. So I'm bound to make a silly mistake. So hopefully, there we go. So we have it. There we have it here. So right now we have a state, and this state will change depending on what it is. It's gonna keep oscillating. So because what's gonna happen each time I have a ping in here, it's gonna be evaluated. If it's true, the ping exists. It's gonna go to this message, and it's gonna change the state of the message, because on last instance was right now its alarm state is true. Come on. And now it's false, and it's gonna keep doing that every 5 seconds. So right now we have a behavior where the alarm state is working and we can toggle it. Now we can link that alarm state to something else, so we could create more complicated behavior. So let's do it. Okay, do you mind, guys, if I'm gonna get some water, because I'm actually dry? Honestly, I'll be back in a moment. Sorry about this. I should have brought something with me. I'm back. I am back. Got some lovely tap water. I'll be able to talk until someone gets falls asleep. Okay. So let me just. Can I just move it here? Okay, here. I don't need this window. I'm trying to. Okay. Where was I? Which screen? I see this screen. I need this because hold on, let me just rearrange the windows a little bit more, because I need to see which screen is displayed as long in your comments and my NodeRED and everything. And I only have one screen right now on the computer, so I'm just trying to arrange it. Best free MQTT cloud broker. I mean, just try run it, honestly. Mosquito on yourself. You can run it on the same machine, and it's good. It's good enough. Then open a port if you need it to cloud-based and connect it. That's how I do it. Anyway, okay, so we have a state machine already for the alarm. Now, let's take a look at our nodes. So turn off the light. So we want to turn off the light. So if the alarm is already set, we're gonna ignore all the requests to turn off the light. So let me just note this, ignore requests to off the light. Okay, and in here, if the alarm was false, so alarm wasn't, then we're gonna set alarm and we're gonna turn the light off. So we have set alarm and we want to turn the light off, and our light is in a message payload. We can straight away jump into message payload actually, because this is where how we want to pass this information. So we can define our message payload. Can you see it in this way, or should I keep changing into a VS Code for you? I can do it VS Code if you want, because it's a bigger font, and maybe like this. Okay, maybe like this is gonna be a little better. Can you see it okay? So I know already. Yeah, okay, because it's easier for me in this way. I keep forgetting to switch the cameras, even though I've got shortcuts. Okay, so I've got a message payload, and we were alarm false, false, because we're disabling the lights. False. False. Okay, so we're gonna be turning the lights off, and in this if the alarm was set, we're gonna ignore it, and then we're gonna have a second tree on the switch node that's gonna be turning on the light. Okay, that's fine. And in here states, we need to save the states of the lights each time. So state of the light's not going to change. Okay, so now we can actually connect this to our outcome for the light. So let's link this together, deploy it. We don't need this right now, and we need to double check our payload, message payload. Okay, it worked. You can see the light disabled itself. It disabled itself because first it was waiting for the, let me jump into context data. It was waiting for the alarm states to be correct. I can try to increase maybe like this. It's hard to fit everything on a single screen, and I keep juggling in it. Hopefully that's okay, and I'll just try to keep it like this maybe. Okay, so right now if I'm gonna turn on my device, so I'm turning it on, it will, when this there is a correct alarm state, it's gonna disable itself. So let's do it this way again. It will stay here as long as this is correct, and then when this turns true on the next cycle, we're gonna have the light off, and the light off will stay here for a long time. Light state is updating right now, incorrect message, because I'm still passing the payload through a switch, which I'm gonna correct in a second, so don't worry about it too much. We can actually fix that right now. So light state is this, and the payload message, where was the payload message? Updated, hold on a second. Light state, why did you? It definitely was from here. So message payload once false, light state, return. I know why, because I've submitted it to a payload. Okay, so I've submitted it to this command. It's fine. Okay. Next on the list. Okay, your planet. Take care, Federico. See you around. Okay. So I'm gonna receive a payload each time, so I would have to reset the payload to nothing. So what I can do is at the beginning of here, I don't need this, so I can set message payload to null, and now it's not going to pass that information over here because it's not going to update here. It's only gonna send the message from here. That's done. Okay, reading more. We have this, so the device is turning on. Now, when the alarm was true and we finished it, so we there's two ways to approach this now. We can code it in here, but it's easier now to get rid of the switch node because each time I get information about ping, I would like to have it in a one node. So what you can do, you can either duplicate this, right, Control C, Control V, and make a new code for when you actually want to entire process to deactivate, you would contain it here. But you can all embed all inside this node, and I think it's going to be easier for you to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable, get rid of the switch node. I already know how to do a big condition, so what I can do is this. If we're gonna have a ping, so that's our ping, and that's it by being passed in message payload. That's fine. Message payload. All right. So if our ping equals false, so this is device offline, right? Else we have some number. You can do else, or you can do ping is bigger than 0. It's up to you. So we can do, like, let's say we're gonna do this. If ping, because it's always going to be bigger than 0 and the device is offline. So we have two conditions, and this is device online, right? Okay, so we have two conditions, and now both conditions is going to contain some of the code below. So I'm just going to make some space. This is device online. All right, and let's start. I'm gonna delete this. Oh, not whole. I just wanted this one to be deleted. And now I want this one to be on top of it. Here, we're gonna define some stuff. And now we're gonna take the first condition when the state was, when the alarm was set. It's gonna be only matters when the device is sorry, we'll start from the other one. If alarm wasn't set, which means the device was online, both actually. So take both of them, cut it, and it only is gonna be true when the device is online. So I'm gonna paste it in here. So when the device is online, we're gonna check if the alarm is set or alarm isn't set, and we're gonna action it, right? That makes sense? Anyone? Okay. Just gonna add the indent so it would be a little bit more visible. And I have a missing closing this one, and I've got one to spare here, isn't it? No, hold on a second. It was okay. Oh, this one here, like this. Okay. All right. Take care, Photochromax. See you later. Right. It's closed. Let me just see. I'm missing a pink. Okay, so I would know that I have everything. I can just combine the conditions. You can fold the code like this, and it's easier to see if you've closed everything. Right now, this is a condition not closed. You see, there's missing. Okay, now we're in business. Right. So Right now, if we have a positive ping, device went online. We didn't have an alarm set, so we've set alarm, and we told our bulb to turn off. Okay. Now we don't want that alarm to actually trigger until the device goes offline. So when the device goes offline, it's here. So we need to get this information from here, right? Because this is gonna happen. We're gonna turn off the alarm when set the alarm. Sorry, alarm is set. I got myself so confused right now. False. It's not set. Yeah. So we're gonna take this one, cut it out, and put it into when the device is offline. Okay, cool. So when the device goes offline, we're gonna check if the alarm was set, and if the alarm was set, then we're gonna deactivate the alarm. Okay, and then we're gonna restore the light. So to restore the light from the previous last set, we just need to get a value of that light. So if the let me just reset this so we could see it. Let's set it to false. Come on. That's okay. So, oops, which one was it? This one. So if we get start, not here, if we're gonna get here, we need to, in this point, we need to check what was the state saved. So there's flow get. Now we're gonna take a state of our light, the previous one. So if prior to that we had a state, and we're gonna put it into a variable. So let there is a difference between let and variable. Var is defined within entire code. Let is within that section. So we can do either the can we use the same one, light? I think we can use it. Won't cause any problems. So we can do light state override state, and we're gonna override that variable. Oh, did I switch the? Oh, press the wrong keyboard. I do apologize. Okay, sorry. So if the device comes offline and the alarm was set, we're going to reset the alarm, and we're gonna check what was the state of our light. If the light was whatever state it was, we're gonna restore it by setting our message payload to light state. Okay. And if our light in here, for example, was off, then when we deactivated the projector, it would keep the light off. If our light was on, when we closed the projector, it would keep the same state. So that's the plan behind it. And since this is a message payload, after that we're just gonna return the message, and the message is gonna be obviously as whatever is contained in this code. So let's test it out. I'm gonna delete what's not needed right now. So if our light, let's turn the light on. We've got our light, the alarm state is false, it's not set, and the light state is true. Now if I'm going to connect the device online, it should deactivate the light behind me that you can see, and then it should, once it goes offline again, it should restore the light for you. So let's give it a go. First, it's gonna deactivate the light. Okay, so that's happened. Alarm has been set. The light. Okay, so light state. We need to disengage the light state as well from the same variable. So we don't update it to the same variable. We only want to save it once and leave it. So let's do this. We need to remove it from here. Are we using it any else? Nope, we define it here, and in here do we do it? No, so we can remove it from here, that's fine. Okay, let's test it again. Let's put the lights on. It's gonna turn off the lights, set the alarm. Oh no, it's not going to do it now because the alarm was set. I don't think I've got. So I just need to swap it, sorry. So let's do this, deploy. In a second the alarm state will change. The light shouldn't turn off. Oops, there's a mistake here. Where's the mistake? Now it works. Okay, in a second the light state will stay the same and this should go off. There you go. Okay, so now it won't turn on our light. It's only gonna do it once. So let's test it out again. Okay, just turned off the light. It saved the light state as a false. It's updated states so from somewhere again. From here. Because I'm updating to the same. Okay, so light state, and we're going to do a slightly different bit because it updates it to the same variable, and we want to have this only updated once. So when we setting alarm, I want a one more variable. So I want a last state. Let's do it last state like this, and alarm. Sorry, and that's gonna be a light last state. Wrong key. State last, and that's gonna be set by whatever present state it is. So we're still gonna need which was a light state here, and state. How's that different from the Deutsches programming? The elegance, like I said, it depends what you want to do in particular. If you want to do, I'll do it for the sake of it. I'll show you how to do it in the NodeRED as well, and you'll understand where's the problem. Because the moment you want to add something extra, you'll see the benefit of doing just triggering this with nodes, and that's the biggest advantage of it, where you can trigger variables with different nodes, and then you're gonna have one or two scripts that are slightly complicated, but they're gonna handle everything else. Okay, so where was I? Light state, and it's gonna be alarm state. That's correct. Then here we need to change the name, so we're gonna be getting the name of of last state. State last. Let's be consequent. Last. Okay, that's, and here we need to pass just a state, light state, and we need to define the variable, because we not defined the variable yet. Okay, and I'll explain the changes. If you control down and press control down and space, it will let you fill in your variables like this. So light, then space down, and you can pick the variable. So we defined it here. Okay, and what is the issue? Expected set. What? Missing semicolon. Semicolon here, semicolon here, semicolon here. Let's fold the code, see. This is correct. This is. You need an underscore. Light state. Where? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. I couldn't find it. Okay, so what I did was because the state of the light is going to be constantly updated, right? I needed to disengage this and provide a new variable that's going to be updated just once per trigger. So when the device goes online in here, right? Device goes offline and the alarm isn't set, so we're going to set the alarm. Then we're going to check what was the state of the light when the device went on, and then update it, and don't change it. We're not going to change this, so we could later on recover it when the device goes offline, and we're gonna get that information and pass this information to message payload. So this way it will work. Okay, so now the light is off. Let's reset it. So the device went online, went offline. Okay. And now we should see a new flow variable in here with the last state. Ta-da! Okay, so I didn't turn on the light too quick. That was the problem. So let me just reset it. So this means that on reset it will turn the light off because the light off is here. At least I know this is working. So let's do it again. And first I'm gonna turn on the light. Deploy this. Oh, it's too quick. I need more seconds. 10 seconds, gonna be okay. Okay. And let's reset this. And I'll show you again. So false, false, false. Okay. So when I turn on the light, this light state's gonna go through. Now, nothing's gonna happen until the device goes online. If the device goes online, which I'm gonna do within the next 10 seconds, if I refresh, now that's gonna go to false, that's gonna go to true, and that's gonna go to true. We have a mistake. Because that should not go to false. That's yeah, there is an error somewhere. So let's look for the error. Probably it would logic, because nothing else triggered. There was no errors. Was it? No. Okay. So probably something simple. I've missed it, but that's how it works. Basically, you hunt for mistakes until you find them. When the device went online, we got the message from last state here. And that should be set to whatever was given here. Alarm. Oh no, flow guys. See, there is a mistake here, guys. See here? There's the same. We asking for the same value. I copy and pasted this, but I've not updated the variable. Ta-da! I knew there was a mistake. Okay, and this one will work now. So let's reset this. True light state. Alarm. Just need to wait for alarm to check to false. Alarm state. Come on. Did I Did I do it correctly? Alarm state. False set to true. And in here, if that's true. Right state that. Completely opposite way. I meant to do it this way. Alarm and light. Okay, cool. Alright, false, true, true. Okay, now it's gonna work. I promise guys, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Okay, so we have alarm state armed, last light state true, and the current is false. So the moment the device goes offline, we're gonna have light on, right? Is that what's gonna happen? Yes, yes, success, guys, success. Yeah, I'm not from UK. I'm Polish, but I live in north of UK. Do you ever use NodeRED and have a bunch of automations in Home Assistant? Is it easy to switch? Basically, to make it work with Home Assistant, I've not used it, I never needed, is that you can have most of the information from NodeRED exported as JSON, I think, if I remember correctly, to Home Assistant and make it work this way. But at the same time, it kind of Home Assistant is just a configuration based, so you just have a thing and you configure them with like a lot of different outcomes, and unless there is something that was already predefined, like a config that was predefined, you kind of locked to this, and with NodeRED you have a absolute freedom to whatever you do, you can do. NodeRED is running on Raspberry Pi 4 right now with 4 gigs of RAM. I used to have it for 2 years of Raspberry Pi 0. Okay, so we have this working. So we can, let's say right now I'm connecting my online TV and I want to turn off the lights. So this is how I would do it, right? And it's only gonna happen once. 10 seconds and the lights go off. And because the light was off last time, so when I stop watching TV and turn off the TV, the light will restore the previous. If you use the curtains, because I'm writing this for curtains mostly, then curtains would open again. And then if you want, you can add the level to it. So because you checked for the alarm, you can also see or restore the state only. So you can do that. For example, we are restoring the state here. So let me just note this up. Restore previous state. Right. So if you start doing stuff like you could have that's gonna be pseudocode, right? Just time equals to, I don't know, it's smaller than 5 p.m. or whatever, and then we'll restore it. And if it's greater, then it will apply a different action. You can wrap that with a additional code, and you'll have a completely different automation. So for example, it will only restore the previous version of the light or curtains or whatever if it's within a specified time limit, because if you have lights, if you have blinds or something, you probably want them closed at night, right? For, I don't know, security, privacy reasons, and it makes no sense to open them after you've finished watching at 11 p.m. You want them closed, and you don't. And if you have any automation that will trigger the blinds to close, obviously they already closed, so that's not gonna happen. So this is how you could approach it, by having another nested if condition that would check what time is it, and then you could obviously have it added to it. So that's how you would approach it with the ping. Now, if you have a device with it's not connected to a network, you've done everything. What you have to do is just we are getting information from here, right, from the power, and the power information is giving us debug. Let's go to debug. It gives us a true or false, if I remember correctly, right? So we have a but there is I want to have it in power. This is where I want to get. I want to get that information from the relay itself. So if I'm gonna get a MQTT in, and I'm going to check the status of my relay, and I'm just gonna do it as a JSON, right? So each time the relay state is gonna change, I'm gonna receive the message on off, right? So that's for the devices with relays. Let me just clean up everything a little bit. So like that, and this is network based. By the way, try not to use IP, try to use host names instead, because if IP changes, you'll mess it up. So I'll just add extra comment. Or maybe like, it's fine, I'll just stick it here. Use host names over IP unless you have assigned a static one. And I've learned that lesson the hard way, because one time everything went hardwire after I resetted the router and it assigned a different IP to my project. So it's like, you know, host names. Okay, so now if you have a device that toggles it like this, so fail to parse JSON string, really? Why it's giving this a, it shouldn't give it. It's just a normal JSON object. Let's see what it's going to be message payload, that says nothing complicated there. See, off and off as a string, it shouldn't have a problem with passing a JSON. I don't know why there is a problem with this. Okay, so let's try it again. So we're just gonna do the testing. Failed to, like, I'm not 100% sure why it has a problem with this. That was a clear payload. Oh no, this is not JSON, right? I was pretty sure there was a because it's in the result. Sorry, I took it from here. Okay, so this is what it does. Sorry, my bad. It's in the result, and now we're gonna have a payload. So, ta-da, and we have a, okay. So now, this is our trigger. Now, the easiest way to do it, and it's gonna be that simple, you can use whatever you have in here, really, right? And there's a couple of things. You can go into the code and swap these values for false to be on and off. Or you can use a change node and do like a just simple change. It's gonna be clean. I'm gonna swap them, but I'm just gonna show you that this is possible as well. So you can have your change node and you can swap it. So if you want to do it with a change node, you would set a message payload to, sorry, change, search for message payload, and this is, it's stored in a power. So you're going to go here, copy path, and this is how you do it, and then paste it, and that's exactly this value. Sorry, the key, and the value obviously we're searching for on, and we're gonna replace it with boolean. So we had a number for, so you can have a 1, it doesn't matter, and we're gonna add another one. We're gonna have another change. We're gonna copy this because it's the same one, just a different circumstance. We have it off, and on off, ping node would give us obviously false. And that's it. And right now, if you're gonna use it with the same exactly thing, it's gonna work, because this one will basically imitate our ping node. So if the device goes on, it's gonna do one thing, and the device goes off, it's gonna do the other thing. So that's how you could do it. Or you can just go a step ahead and do it, modify it. So you could go into here like this. I'm not going to connect them, just kind of, maybe I should do it like this so you could see it. Then you can go into here, and then one's going to be, sorry, which one was it? Offline, so it's going to be off. And this is a value string, so we have to make it a string, right? And in here, just equals to off. And as long as you don't care for the name of the variable, then you're pretty much sorted. Now, another way to approach it is when you have a power hungry device and you can discover how much power it uses. So in here, every now and then, Oh, sorry. Okay, I don't know how long it was. Thanks for. I keep hitting something that's triggering the keyword. Let me just hold on. I'll just disable the. Can I disable the hotkeys? Because I thought this hotkeys would be a great idea, but it wasn't a great idea. Okay, it shouldn't switch now. Okay, so again, so this one produces on and off, right? Like I indicated here. So you've got power on, and when on power off, you've got power off in here. So you can simply just switch that, and you do that like if you have a JSON, you can just copy the path of it, just paste it here, and that's exactly what it is. Start with message, and then you can copy the rest of it. And obviously, if you want to copy the value, you can just copy the value and paste it. And if it's on, because we used the ping before, we can just change it into a number, and that's going to work with existing code. And if it's off, we're going to change it to a boolean value, which is false, and it's going to be working just fine. And the second way is just to go here, as long as you don't mind, or you can update this name if you want, and then swap it when it was false. You just submit a string, which is in quotation marks, to off, and when it was a number, you just put it as sorry, made a mistake here, it should be on. Then it's gonna work in the same way. And the last way to do it is when you have a son of device that measures the power, and you can use the power trigger instead. So power measurements were posted, I believe, to a sensor, which is here. So that's set to upload right now every, let's go back. I don't remember how much I said. I think 30 seconds. Let's have a look. Configure logging. So every telemetry period is every 30 seconds. You will submit all the information about the power use. So everything that you're going to see, that's going to be displayed here every 30 seconds. So let's go back. And we have our telemetry here. So that's our energy information. And you can use that as a trigger as well. So if you have a, I don't know, kettle, you can connect the kettle. And when it uses some sort of power, then it's going to be, let's turn on the light. Wait for the telemetry to give us a power, and then you can estimate what the device is doing. So, for example, it's a similar way to I did to my washing machine notifications. I actually made brackets to on what power levels it would activate. I use average, mean average of a couple of results to determine whether the washing machine is washing, whether the washing machine is resting or in standby. Have you found the Yahoo Smart Zigbee no neutral light switch? I'm looking. I have a couple of no neutral light switches. I'm using a Wi-Fi for the article I've sent at the beginning of the chat, so you can look it up as well. And they okay. I had no problems with it. So this is the telemetry right now for this bulb, and it uses 96. That's. What is it in? It's not in watts. That's definitely not in watts. Or maybe? No, this is. Oh, maybe. Ah, this is hot. I thought it was an LED light bulb. That was not an LED light bulb. So what is it? It's 100 watts. Okay, it makes sense. It's 100 watts light bulb. So yeah, I thought it was a IKEA LED one. So I was just like, this isn't like, how comes this takes 100 watts of power? Okay, so obviously you can copy this, right, and have your trigger the same way. So you can have a change node, I guess. And what you would do, right, you would have a third instance. And in a change node, obviously you want to react to power, right, how much power it uses. So it uses a power in here. So you copy this to find out what it's actually, this is where it draws it from. So I'm going to set a message payload, right? So I'm just gonna set it here. So I'm just going to set a message payload, and I'm setting a message payload to that value from our from our message payload.energy.power. So that's how I would convert it. So convert to payload. And that way you can get this result converted into, sorry, not this one, going to get this result, because this is our power output. Let me just name it properly. There you go. So this is our power output. I will check the power value, and it's right now it's outputting 196 watts. You connect it to here and you're done. You can do it with the power output for devices that are not connected. So that's how you integrate it. And this is where the NodeRED shines right now. It makes sense to do certain things in a function node because they're gonna do the heavy lifting. And I promise I'm going to show you more or less how you would arrange the same state machine with nodes, okay? So we have a couple, let me just copy the entire code so I could see it. I'm going to put it in my VS Code, right? And I'll try to recreate it for you. Power use per day and then calculate the cost. Yes. It's pure maths, so I already did that. I can show you. Not enough tech and dashboard, PC dashboard. I think I can actually show you. Let's have a look. Is it going to? I've disconnected my computer some time ago. I don't think it's linked to the same server right now. But this is the dashboard I've been using, and it gives you estimates. I think what I did, I was doing another tutorial. I had to disconnect it because I tend to reuse my stuff for all these tutorials, and that's what happens. But this is the tutorial that you should be using PC, or I'll give you a link to it. There you go. It's been written for the Netio cables, but it will work for any cables that's give on any devices that give you power usage. So for Sonoff POW or Shelly devices, as long as you can extract the wattage of it, you can recalculate everything. So that's how it works. Okay, so what else? I can close this one. But basically, the cost is what you would do is just take the power. I think it's. Let me just. Can I do it like this? Can you see it? Okay. So if we're going to go in here, cost. So I have two power tariffs that we would operate on, and then every hour I would just do this, which is here. That's how you basically calculate, and every hour I know how many watts it uses, and then I multiply that per kilowatts and add it to a new array, and then I use that array to draw the averages for different periods of time. So at the end I have a widget like this, which gives you daily costs, which gives you total uptime, total power use, and total electricity costs, and a breakdown like this. So that's something you could do. Okay, so I've got the code copied. I'm just going to stretch it a little bit so you could see entire. And if you were trying to approach this with NodeRED, that would be more complicated, but you would look like this. So you would have your state in here. I'm just going to do like a state. I'm not going to really make it usable as such. Then we would have, first we're going to have a switch node, right? So in this switch node, we would tell if it's device online, and we would have two states, right? One would be just true, and one would be a false, right? So that would be a first step. Second step for us would be an alarm. So we would have another switch node, and alarm would be, this is false, so it's online, so it's connected here, and alarm set. and that would be also true or false. Okay, so you would have this, and now based on these figures you would have to build a response. The response would you would use probably like a change node or something. So for example, if alarm is set, then you would have something to set flow and then alarm to whatever value you want. So you would have like a boolean true or false, and then you would have one for this one, right? Then you would have a state machine, which use the change nodes as well. So you would have one for the state machine when the device is online, and to save it, and then you would have probably another one to get the information about the what you want to do next and compose the payload. And then you would have something like this, and you start to understand why I preferred to use a one of the function nodes instead, because later on when you come back to it, it's a mess. Like, let me just show you guys. I'm not even joking. If I was going back, like, this is already more complicated than I would like. Okay, it's fairly simple to read and I know more or less where to go, but it's yeah, I know you can do it. I'm just kind of showing you more or less what it's involving and how it looks later, because you're gonna build on top of it. This is the light switch that I have in a room, right? The part that turns off the project, the lights, it's this part. This is the part we did, and I made it slightly more shorter because I just did this in a single thing and I've applied something else. But I essentially, this is the bits that we did. Okay, we not even touched this. There is no functions for lights, there is no home automation, smart automations, there is no voice commands, there's nothing even touched there. And just imagine trying to recreate stuff on this level, right? Which is already me just using simple flows. There probably is going to be another couple of different nodes in there to recreate the same thing, and it's harder to maintain. Yeah, it might look logical if this is the only thing you've got, but for example, I'll show you one of the craziest stuff I did. So this is not enough text, mobile notifications, and that wasn't even done with the things. What is it called? Hello Reese, you okay? So I'm just this is one of the things I'm really proud of, and it's one of my most underrated pages. No one reads it really, but it's brilliant in in how I've solved it, because I've sat with it for several days. And list of features, right? So you can pick different filaments, you can different spool sizes, you can have a cost of print with a power use, with a filament use, a separate energy calculation, so you will know cost of the print upfront before you print it. It supports 2 energy tariffs. There is a live preview and snapshots of your print in progress. It gives you ATA to mobile notifications, calculated times, progress, support for multiple printers, and more and more and more. And I'll show you how. And this is how it looks like. So let's go and import this for fun, okay? And I'll show you why I preferred to use a and let's download this. Okay. Desktop. I'll show you why I prefer to use this over going just everything with charts. Okay, are you ready, guys? Gonna add the new one. Import. Ta-da! So, and this is This is a lot of those things. They could be like cancel. It's just setting a message URL and payload, so that saves you two nodes. Resume. It's gonna be very similar because it's just sending a different payload. And again, that would be just to saving you maybe one or two. Check values. You could do it with the other nodes as well, but this is what you get. You get like I don't know, percentage of a print. That's quite simple. What was quite complicated, I think, calculate power. That's a bit of the maths to do. Print stats maybe. Yeah. So yeah, you can replace those with certain things, but then again, you're gonna end up with stuff that is harder to maintain, and it's easier sometimes to do it this way. So I know if you started with NodeRED, it's much easier to start with just going with different nodes and figure out what you're supposed to do by connecting, because you understand this more than a piece of code when you're starting it. But that's what makes it a little bit more advanced, when you can compress all that into a single function node. And then this is the best bit, is that you know, yes, you can do another thing, that you can do the subflow, which will essentially makes your life easier. So for example, if you just wanted this to be a subflow, you can just select again and go to subflows, create a selection to subflow, and then you have a single node, and you configure it with a single edit sub with a single input. So one input, connect it, and then all you have to do is just submit in here two values, and in this value is going to be confirm deploy. Okay. I can close this. Where is this? And now I can replace every two nodes in this with a subflow, which only I have to submit a values that are taken by ping. So either false or a number for the ping, and that's basically all I have to do. So you can clean it up this way. But the disadvantage of subflow is that you can't say, and like I have a couple of subflows that I use in here in the corner, if you can see, and those are, I know what they are, how they work, and what they're supposed to do. But if you are going to import this, it gives you an increased level of complexity, because you have to open this. Now edit flow template. Okay, I see there are two things happening in here. So I can see that this code's going to be executed, and then I can see that's going to be passed through that MQTT node, and that's how this subflow operates. But I can't tell that just by, you know, looking at this one, unless I have some good comments based around it. So while in here is just a double click, and I can still kind of see my flow, kind of see what's happening in here. And if you structure code well, then like stuff that happens in here, you can interpret it even if you fold the code. You fold the code and you kind of see what's happening already. So you see that, for example, if you fold this one and fold this one, you have two main conditions: device online, device offline. And then if you want to learn someone's code, if someone formatted it correctly and give you enough descriptions, then you start by folding everything, and you start with the bigger picture. So I know that that's going to be first ping and evaluated against this. Then if I'm going to go into false, then I have, oh, there is another alarm, and so there is alarm value that is being evaluated. If I'm going to unfold it, what it does this. And then once I finished, you know, figuring this tree, I can go to this tree and figure out, okay, this is another alarm, and it does this one when I execute it. And that way you can understand the code a little bit easier, and you know, you pick it apart. And I understand that some people prefer to take that easy approach and use the nodes when they can. But I think it's good to have this balance between a code being visibly understandable and not complicated. Because, like I said, there's no way anyone's gonna understand this on the first. Like, you will look at this and you will get confused in here. There is a loop in here, and I know what this loop does because I've made this. And I understand why this is done this way, not the other way. But this is much harder to pick apart than something that's, you know, that's kind of like structured well, and there is a balance between a spaghetti and NodeRED flow. So that's how I would approach the problems. So come on guys, with this one we're pretty much done, so I'm gonna upload this and pass it on so you could play with it yourself if you want. But I'm happy, I'm still here for another 15 minutes. I'm happy to answer the questions, and then I'm gonna come back and I have a video to edit because I've been playing with some stuff. So if you have any questions about NodeRED, just go on. I'm happy to answer them. I'm better at answering these questions than trying to program it on the live sessions, because it is taxing on my head when I'm doing it and talking at the same time, because otherwise I'll just be absolutely quiet and just focusing on what I have to do, and I can go through it much quicker than while talking. So yeah, I can tell you a fun story what happened today. I was shooting video for this, for the Xiaomi Palm, and hopefully that's going to be done today. And I wanted to have a bit of an action. There is a small stream, and there is a swing, which is attached to, it's not a swing, it's just a piece of rope attached to a tree over that stream, and you can actually grab into it and swing across the stream. And I've done that before on my runs. It's kind of fun thing to do. So I figured out it's gonna put it on a clip on my chest and make a bit of a action cam footage to show you that you can do some silly things with this, right? And yeah, I've talked to some people passing by. They were asking what I'm doing. I told them what I'm doing, and that I'm going to film it. And I said, like, it's either gonna make me a great YouTuber or just gonna submit my clip to You've Been Framed because I'm gonna fail. And one of the things I had to do, I had to put the camera on the other side of the stream first and then film it. So I put everything in pockets, and I thought, okay, if I swing gently, then maybe I'll be okay, and you know, I'll set up a camera, swing back, and do it properly. And it was raining for a whole week, and I kind of, like, the water was quite high, and things happened. Basically, I landed as I planned, but it was a bit of a slope like this when I landed, and I had the running shoes for like tarmac, not for dirt roads, and I slowly started to skid backwards towards the stream, and I could not do a thing. Honestly, it was about a meter to go down to the stream, and I just skid back, and I landed in the middle of the stream with the water running through my knees, and I was just like, oh god, why this is not filmed? Okay, there are some questions. Jason data can reduce flows by skipping switch nodes. The circuit case is extremely powerful, cleaner than function nodes. Let me just Google. I don't think I used the JSON data. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the documentation. Okay, let's try something we can try. Okay, I get what it is. Okay, I know what it's doing now. Okay. I'll play about it with this. That might be useful for certain things, like when I was calculating the power and the prices. So instead of me writing a maths for it, I could just probably use one of those commands from JSON data instead. Where the flow variables saved, so you start at NodeRED, you lose them. I've mentioned that before. You need to preserve your variables, and there is a context for that. Copy. So I would. I always do that first, so this way you can save into a store. I think it saves every like 3 to 5 seconds or something like that. So if you have a failure and your Raspberry Pi just craps out on you, you can just recover the last states. It's very good for that. And it's the IKEA thread-free switch you showed earlier. Does it require a bridge? It requires something to connect. You don't have to have a bridge, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I might do a very lazy thing. I've got a CC debugger here running. Can I do it? Like, I think this is the closest I can get without. So I have this one running here, which intercepts Zigbee signals and passes to NodeRED as a Zigbee to MQTT. It costs like I can give you a link and stuff like that. It's only a couple of pounds. Another thing I'm kind of looking forward is to flash Zigbee. I have a Zigbee Son of Bridge, It's waiting to be flashed as well. So there's a couple of things coming up on my page. There's lots of things that are coming up. It's just I'm trying to find the time for everything now. That was a problem. I have a Conb 2 as well. I've not used it once. I've paid the price, and I wanted to do Conb versus CC5 2531, 2351, either of it. But time is the biggest problem. Where was it? CC. What I would recommend you to get it from the ITS store, because it comes pre-flashed. So this is why I would recommend you. And you don't have to flash it. Otherwise, you have to get either a debugging cable or do some soldering to update the firmware, and then you can use Zigbee to MQTT. Ternary operator. Check out the hookup videos. Okay. Variable saved. It's done. It's done. What's the environmental variable? That's all answered. How it would be. How to set up hash in NodeRED. I've not got Home Assistant. I use NodeRED. I never found a reason to have it for some reason. I know some people will swear by it, but I never felt limited by NodeRED, and think that's the biggest advantage of it. That I've seen people going from Home Assistant to NodeRED because they couldn't do something, but I've not seen really people at comfortable level at NodeRED going to Home Assistant because they couldn't do something in NodeRED. So this is the tendency I've seen, and I understand. Like I said, I'm not saying anything bad about Home Assistant, and I think it's great for people that just want to configure a couple of things. Then yeah, that's fine. But if you want to play slightly more advanced routines, and I think at some point you're gonna find yourself a little bit more limited with Home Assistant. It's more user friendly, it's less programming, that's for sure, and that's why it has a bigger community. And I think because of it has a bigger community, it also has more resources and tutorials. And I've checked actually YouTube stats on like how Home Assistant's videos are doing, and they're quite popular. And I was tempted to maybe get some of those clicks, but I tend to not to look at analytics at all. I just post stuff that interests me. And if it's if it's just for me, then I've learned something new and I'm happy with it. If people get interest, then it's great. That's basically how I pick my subjects for. I don't follow trends. It's a hobby. I have a full-time job. What about a combination of Domotic with NodeRED? Did you try? I don't have a single Domotic device, but it's a very similar in principle to Home Assistants, because it runs in a parallel, isn't it? From what I've seen, like I said, I've not doubled at all with Domotic, mainly because I don't have anything compatible. But yeah, like moving forward, I would strongly recommend people to jump on Zigbee. Mostly because I have 76 devices on Wi-Fi network on a single router, and most of them on 2.4 gigahertz network, which makes my 2.4 gigahertz network unusable. And I keep promising myself to sort it out, and yeah, I know how big a task it is, and I don't want to start this. So everyone's that needs to use the internet, they use internet on the 5 gig network band, and that seems to be working fine. But for the same reasons, I would recommend Zigbee. First of all, less of a security risk, because the device isn't connected directly to internet, and so all you have to do really have a nice, decent security on the hub side. And second of all, you're not going to clog that band as much. Ubiquity Wi-Fi. I was thinking about something like that, but then I don't know, like I bit myself a bit because I have two routers, which one doesn't work and the second one is just awful, and I spent like £300 on both of them, which I feel really, really salty about, because the experience isn't perfect. And right now I have one router here which only supplies me with 5G, and the router downstairs is 5G and 2G. The reason why this is 5G only is because the 2G went down, and the traffic used to be split between those two, but not anymore. And I have a big project that's gonna wire a couple of more devices, and I want to do this first, and then I'm gonna take care of the network. Unify app is way to go. Is it with Ubiquiti? Can you do like advanced stuff on it? Because I have, what is it called? I have a private network which I can access from outside to access my drives without through a tunnel. And for example, I had, because I can't no longer do it with my better router. So I was, but thankfully it is compatible with Open WRT, which I'm trying to learn. I'm not like, this is the thing, I'm not a programmer. Like, you've noticed that probably a long time ago. I'm not a programming guy. I studied art and at school, and I work in customer support, and for me this is all new. Like, I do stuff because I'm getting interested in it, and I just, Google enough until I know more or less what to do next. So yeah, so I keep adding new skills to the list, from managing WordPressing, rebuilding websites and databases, to doing NodeRED, home automation, Python stuff, and all. And now I'm gonna have to do networking. And networking on the Open WRT is not as simple at first as some people might claim, especially if you're new to stuff like that. And it's another skill to kind of learn and master, and I have no margin for error, because right now we're both working from home, me and my wife, and she needs internet, and I can't just power down the internet and just double with it. It's not alright. It's just simple customer support. People come with problems, I tell them I can't help them. So it's yeah, I just took interest a couple of years ago, and I write stuff to remember, and I started to write it online because it was easier to access it. People started to read my post, and I kind of like, okay, if people are reading it, I'll keep posting it, and that's what happens. I'm not a massive YouTuber or anything, and I don't aim to be. Okay, it's nice to have a following, I always appreciate it. But yeah, it's interesting. I love puzzles, and I love making stuff work. So that's why I do it. So I use Home Assistant. It's very nice UI and integrations manager. Use NodeRED for complex automation, and this is I think the most common use case. People take Home Assistant for UI and dashboard, sometimes Grafana or something like that, but NodeRED for everything that requires a personal touch. And it's everything, like Node is like, don't get me wrong, I hope no one's gonna get offended by me saying this. Home Assistant is for people that look for stock automation. NodeRED is for people that want personal automation. And the reason I'm saying this is that the level of small changes and quirks in NodeRED is insane that you can implement. Like I said, you can have this project that we did. You can add timers, and those timers only will apply if there is a presence of a mobile phone on your network, and then you can muster another 10 different conditions that will relate to it, that will only work on Friday the 13th in 2000 and whatever. And this is what's so exciting about the home automation done your way, that you get to decide how it's gonna play out. And with Home Assistant, you have these options slightly trimmed. You still can do a lot of things. I'm not being negative about it, but you are slightly limited to certain things, and it's okay. It has its purpose, and I appreciate what it's done. Certainly, it's just I like to take things a little bit further, because why not? Could you use both hand in hand? Yes, you can. That's the thing. You can have a home automation on Home Assistant and support yourself with custom automations in NodeRED. That's what you do. Usually you take a data from Home Assistant, you offload that data to NodeRED, you process it the way you want, and you spit out the data if you need something actioned. And that's most of people how they approach it. Or if something is not supported by Home Assistant, you have a custom piece of code that's going to work in Node.js or NodeRED. You're going to process that information and spit out the data to your dashboard or switch something based on that, and that's how people do it. And that's basically what is it for. And yeah, I think there is a special NodeRED dashboard, NodeRED node that you can use, and you have to download the plugin there, and they both link together, so it makes it easier to deal with. So I don't think there is any delay, because you can have them both on the same system as well, if I remember correctly. And on the Raspberry Pi, it should work like whatever. Like, you've seen how many stuff I've got, and this is nothing. This is my dev server. I have probably twice as much of stuff in my server I use, so it's not slowing down. It's not. There is not enough activity to slow it down. Realistically speaking, for home automation, most of the time the system just sits there and waits for a trigger. Not crashing numbers or doing anything. In only a couple of seconds you're gonna update some states. It takes next to nothing for processing really to do. So don't get obsessed with this, because I reckon you're sooner gonna run out of creativity than actual processing power for the home automation. So I wouldn't bother about limits on the hardware side of this. It's gonna run. And NodeRED itself, I've seen people running NodeRED on a mobile phone, on an Android phone. I think there was some installation there, and someone was running it. I was like, wow, this is cool. So it's more available on more devices, so you can have it this way. I'm actually I think I'm gonna rebuild my dashboard, because I have one of the budget tablets. I'm gonna drop a review soon, and since I don't use tablets, I've tried to have a couple of tablets and I have no use for them whatsoever. I'm gonna repurpose it as just a device. I'm gonna use Tasker to spam the sensor, because it's going to be plugged in anyway. Spam the sensor when someone's close. It's going to display the dashboard. If it's not around, it's going to close, dim the screen. And then I'm going to just make a dashboard to operate with everything. So I'm going to put my heating on it, a couple of automation systems, something like that. I'm definitely going to be posting more. I think the time is the biggest constraint right now, because I do work 50 hours a week. So, oh, hello. Welcome. I'm here to let some NodeRED. Oh, you are so late. I'm just about to wrap up. There's a most confusing stuff. I think I'm gonna have to what is it for the next? It's not the last session. I'm gonna definitely have another sessions. But what I'm going to do, I'm gonna rehearse. Because it's easier for me if I have stuff prepared than I'm trying to figure out stuff out as I go with audience. I get stressed. It's more more stressful to actually do it live. So yeah, but I'm happy. Like I said, I forgot a couple of more minutes. I can answer some questions. Then I'm gonna go back to editing, because I have a video of me running across the stream, not falling in, because I reshoot it with my pants being like, I'll give you something to laugh at me. Hello Instagram, if you want to laugh at me, here you go. And the funny story was, there were two very nice ladies passing by. They've asked me what I was doing. They were like 60 plus, and I've explained that I just want to test the camera and stuff. And they said like, oh, why am I doing this? I said, oh, I'm writing stuff online. And so, oh, really? I said, yeah. So they've asked me for a name. So I gave them a name, and I wasn't really thinking much about this. And the moment I posted this video, one of the ladies just replied to it, just laughing at me. So I have a new follower. on Instagram because of my my stream adventure. Oh god. So what I can give you a couple of things. Feel free to type questions. Do you know Argon 1 case? It's a lovely case. There's a couple of issues with it, but there's a lovely case. Let me give you a... It was trending, this case, some time ago. And the case is far from perfect. Right. But I'm going to modify this case, and I have a really cool idea for home automation gigs. So you really want this case soon, because there are a couple of things that came together very neatly, including Raspberry Pi 4 boot from USB, which was gonna be something that I have. Oh, sorry, camera. I was pointing to the microphone. So this is our Argon case, and this is a MSATA hat. And it won't obviously fit, but it will go together with my add-on. I'm spending considerable amount of time of trying to get this off the ground and redesign it. I'm only beginner at Fusion 360, but I have some progress done. And the way I want to redesign it's going to be perfect for home automation, because it's going to have an integrated Xebu stick. It's going to have a flash inside, so MSATA. It's going to boot from that, so you're not going to need a card, and it's going to be all nicely enclosed with a case with cooling, and it's going to be probably a go-to box for home automation for me, hopefully for you too. But that's one of the things I'm going to do. Another thing I've got is the Raspberry kit. So I've actually went a little bit crazy, and I got the lenses for the HD camera. So there is a HD camera. I'm just waiting for a longer strip, because it's very hard to use that. 20 centimeters not long enough. I got a 1 meter going through, and I have the bigger lens, which is awesome. Oops. So this is the bigger lens. It's actually quite, look at how big it is, guys. This is for Raspberry Pi kit. It's very heavy. So that's gonna be up soon as well. As soon as we're gonna get a cable, I'm gonna start playing with it a little bit more. I've mentioned about that's gonna be probably maybe today. See what time I'm gonna finish editing. What else do I have in my secret drawer? I have a chain controllers. You know the verticals, so now I have automated curtains, have automated blinds, and I've 3D printed the blinds. So this is the thing, if you live in UK or anywhere, this is the problem I've been having. This is a controller for rollers, and the controller for rollers that's being sold is 37 millimeters in diameter. And the problem was, when I call up companies to order some rollers, they told me they don't have 37 millimeter kits for my width of the window. They only have 32 millimeters kits, so I couldn't fit that in. But thanks to a 3D printer, I think I posted it the day before yesterday, I have these custom seals. So now there's a kit on Thingiverse, you can Google it. You can change these, and these are 37 millimeters, into 32 millimeters, and check them out. Now I didn't have a rollers to. I don't have a rollers to test them. So if someone could print it out, and even just if you don't have a motor, just to see if they fit, that would be perfect. Because I ended up getting some rollers from China actually to finish this video, and they lost my parcel. But I would be curious if they work inside the roller. So if I come across some rollers, I'll try it on. Otherwise, I'll have to wait until I get a new one. But they fit like a glove on this, so I don't see a reason why it wouldn't work on a smaller. So 7 windows, 5 broken. How did you break it? I mean, I had a really bad rollers, because mine were made out of paper, and sorry, mine were made out of paper, and there was literally a paper roll to roll it. The rollers seems to be, they were horrible. And as soon as I switched to something decent, suddenly it started to work okay. So I don't know. It's working. Can we see Max screen the camera? Sorry, Max screen the camera. Oh, like this. You mean like this? Okay, sorry. So yeah, I should have done that early on. So this is the driver. It's about 40 bucks on AliExpress from Smartest one. It's a Zigbee and a Wi-Fi version, whichever you want. And now if you go on my website, it's on the main page. So, and yeah, and I can show you the lenses again. Sorry, I was being a crap host. Really, I should have done that straight away. Because I don't have the layout in here. I don't see my window on YouTube. I only see my window in OBS, and that's full screen. So this is the lens. This is the big one. And it has controls. This is for focus, and this is for aperture, which is nice. And this is telephoto. I only played it for a second, but the sensor is really small. Sorry, the cable is really short. So I was literally holding a lens here and then put it on a tripod, and the Raspberry Pi was hanging by the cable, and it was really annoying. And this is the smaller one. And the smaller one, it has like a privacy thing, so you can close it and open, which is a bit pointless for me. And then this one's a bit yeah, whatever. It's well, you know, the sensor is quite nice, so it compensates obviously. But as a lens, they could do it slightly better. If I'm honest, I'm gonna review them soon. The cable's coming tomorrow, I think. Today I got, this is interesting, guys. So I've mentioned this, right? Who watched oh, hello Dustin, you alright? Who watched Predator? Do you like Predator, the film? Where's my backpack? So something I got in post office today and post today. So this is my backpack, right? Just close it. So it's nothing special. It's just a backpack. So I had this, which is a Xiaomi Palm. It's really good. I can link you. Hold on a sec. And where is it? It's 160 bucks, but 60 pounds, but it's totally worth it. And this is the thing. I've got a Predator kit, and you'll understand in a second why do I call it a Predator kit. I need to find where's the other part. Here. Now there's two things. First of all, right, there's a normal grip. It's molded. This I've ordered it online, right? This is a bit that's molded, and it's just a grippy grip. But this is a bit that goes around the camera. I don't know what they've used, but take a look at this. Hold on. Look at that 3D print. It's awful. This is actually 3D printed. And it's a not good 3D print either. I'm kind of hesitant to use it. But what's really amusing about this kit is I call it a Predator mount, mostly because you'll be able to do it something like this. Oh, come on. I've not even tested it yet, so I don't know if it works. I might break it on the first approach. Oh, that's tight. Right. So you'll understand, if you've seen a Predator, you'll understand in a second why. So it's right now my laser is pointing at you guys. So this is the shoulder cannon for the Predator. That's what they used in the film. I bet they that's what they used in the film. But it's 3D printed, and I was just like, really? And it's a bit crappy printer. And yesterday I was doing some prints, test prints, which came out quite nice. So Reese just destroyed a Home Assistant. Wow. Okay, I've missed that. Did something in front. I don't know what I do. Just turn on. What? Wow. That came with the camera. No, it didn't came. That was a separate kit. So that mode came with a. This is one of the problems with the kit. With the kit was that you have to order all the kits separate, which is insane. But that's I really want to synchronize a laser pointer with this. So that's gonna be fun. But yeah, it's a crappy 3D print. Fortunately, I have another set which goes on the chest and it has a proper clamp, so I'm gonna reuse that. So that's one of the things. Anything else I've got that's gonna be soon up at some point, maybe? I have 3D, like I've upgraded my 3D printer a lot. There's I think 10 different upgrades, and I'm gonna go one by one. How often I plan on streaming? I'd like to plan I like to plan in advance, but I don't work regular days. I don't work Monday to Friday, which is a big problem for me because I can't have any pattern at all. And obviously, when I'm off, then I'd like to stream, but then there's a life as well in a way, so it's difficult at some point. But I'll try to give as much notice for streams. I try to I hope to have maybe 1 or 2 sessions of NodeRED per week. And I really like, I don't know if you've seen it, if you go on YouTube, I'll give you a link, Electromaker. If you like home automation as well, Electromaker has a Electromaker show, and I really like it. It's very light-hearted and just random stuff, but I've not watched many shows. Like, I don't watch much YouTube recently because if you do YouTube, you tend to watch it less. once you spend a couple of hours trying to upload something to YouTube and do some stuff for YouTube, then you kind of like, you know what, I don't want to watch YouTube anymore. I want a break. So from time to time, I have a couple of shows that I really like. So I can go over my list with you if you want. I can show you what I like to watch. Maybe a couple of things I can recommend it. Can I do it like this? Let's go on YouTube. So what do I like? Like this is on my private account. Okay. So Tom Scott. If you don't know the Tom Scott, I would really recommend. So Tom Scott is fun. Who else I like? There is also this guy. He does a couple of good videos.
Home Assistant 101.
This guy, I would recommend the one.
This is an introduction level. My purpose
Show.
is to explain the basics.
I'm not subscribed to you because it's in my private channel. I'm subscribed on the other channel. It's fine. I use more than one YouTube, so don't be offended. I keep my different subscriptions for different accounts. Kurzgesagt. I like Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt is it's really cool. I love the animations. Well, so let's go through my subscription list. Andreas doing well. I followed him since he was like 20,000. He's a cool guy. What else do I have? It's gonna be some random stuff. Great Scott, obviously. Most of the time I haven't got a clue what he's talking about electronics, but I try to learn as much as possible. So I'd recommend. What else do I have from interesting stuff? I like sciencey videos, so you're gonna have Veritasium, Smarter Every Day. I don't think I have to recommend Justin. if you don't know it, or Mark Rober. He got famous of the, I think Parcel was one of the very viral ones, but there was something else that he was famous for. If you've not seen the perfect obstacle course for the squirrels, this is hilarious. It's 20 minutes of your life entertaining. Oh, where's Tony? Tony. Oh, I love Tony. This old Tony. I would strongly recommend, like, I have nothing to do with a with machining. I have absolutely no skills in terms of machining anything, and he plays with metal. But his videos are absolutely entertaining, and I love to watch them. They just, he's got perfect sense of humor and really good editing skills. As a maker, I do appreciate what he's doing, how he edits the videos, and how much story he tells with just his hands. It's really good work he's doing. Steve Mould, I don't think he's as popular, but oh, he's 600. Oh, he went up as well. I don't even check how much people like have subscribers and count and stuff. I try to not to get too much influence from trending, because it kind of, you end up doing the same things that are being popular and stuff like that, and it's Visas. I like Visas as well, so there's a couple of Visas, 1, 2 and 3. This is number 3, but they're not uploading as often nowadays, mostly because they have other stuff on mind. Probably they used to work with YouTube partnerships quite a bit, so Visas, I would recommend it. Here's a channel. This is Oddball. This is about music and how complicated music is, and how it's surrounded by rules, and it's called 19 Tone. Oh, sorry, this is a secondary channel. Apologies. It should be a main channel. Where's the channels? This is the community channel. Where's the main one? What was the name of it? Damn it. 12 Ton. 12 Ton, sorry. That's the one. 12 Ton. This one. You can ignore the previous one. Can I delete the previous one? Remove file. Here you go. So this is about music and how music is written and what's important. And it's, again, I do not understand half of this stuff that he's saying, but it kind of makes sense what he's saying, so I take it as it's true. So, yeah, and for fun, like Global Cycling Network, for inspirations where to go for cycling. So I love cycling. That's it. I used to watch a little bit more gaming videos and stuff like that, but that changes. There's many more that I watch. I just throw at you a bunch of them because, oh, and of course, honorable mention, always good entertainment, is Slow-Mo Guys. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to have a, just follow some of the names I mentioned, that cool people that keep me entertained. That's pretty much it. Right, I have a editing slog to do. Can I show you something? Practical engineering. Yeah, it was that practical engineering. Like I said, I have 3 YouTube accounts. So kind of, if I don't follow someone on this list, I follow someone on the other list, and I just can't. I don't want to manage this. So I'm just like, I'm not subscribing from each channel. And that's it. So, where is it? What can I? Do I have? Oh, I'll show you something cool. I don't know how it's gonna be quality from this, but let me find a file for you. That's gonna be a tutorial as well. Just need to find it. This is render. so I managed to get some overlays. This is me cycling, by the way. So I like this bit because you can get really, really fast. It's in kilometers. It's not. So it's not miles, by the way. It's in kilometers, so don't get scared. But and this is filmed on the gimbal. This is filmed with where is it? This is filmed with this one. It's really steady footage. So yeah, this gimbal is capable of really nice, smooth image, and I really like it. I've lost the comments now. So I'll watch back some of the NodeRED stuff today and keep safe and see you next stream. Yeah, okay. Well, enjoy it. Sorry he was slightly confusing. I should have made some notes in hindsight, and I'm probably gonna do it for the next session a little bit more organized. Like I said, I thought I have something to do with. I wanted to review this code anyway, so that was the plan. I'll get that edited. I'll upload the code and share it. Probably link it in the description of this. Can I do it now? Like, what would be the most efficient do it? Can I do it like a GitHub? Let me just maybe a quick GitHub export. GitHub. I'm just gonna get a snippet rolling. Yes, it's me. Okay. Just need to log into my GitHub again. Forgive me. And I'm gonna add the snippet. And you just okay. Live NodeRED session. Okay. And we need to export this. Can I just do like this? Okay, so we don't need the subflow. That can stay, that can stay, that's okay. So just this. So let's NodeRED session 1 deploy and export current flow compact copy to cable clipboard. Okay. And if you want the files, they're here. Alright, I'll plan another one. It's I don't know how the YouTube notification system works for you guys, or how much you love it, but it's best to follow me on social media for this. And I've queued up on the Facebook as an event. I've tried that over the weekend. A couple of people visited. I don't know if that works for you, but I'm gonna definitely try to post it 2 days in advance, and then let you know on the day as well, and try to keep it. I think for a lot of you it's going to be a time zone issue as well, because I'm in GMT, which means if America it's going to be early hours, most of you going to work, and in you know the other way it's going to be quite late. So I understand it might be difficult to get the timing right, but I'll do my best. Okay, I'm gonna go back to eat something, get some editing going, and hopefully maybe I'll squeeze the post today. If not, it's gonna be tomorrow about gimbal and me trying not to fall into a river. Thanks so much for everyone that joined me, corrected me, and yeah, hope you learned a thing or two and you don't hate me. Alright, take care guys. I'll see you soon. How do you turn off this thing? That's probably how every single live stream ends, by someone saying, how do you end this stream? Ah, here. Bye.